Why staying single is the best thing you can do. Stoicism powerful hook. Imagine this. One day you wake up completely alone. No messages, no good morning texts, no one asking where you are, no one telling you they miss you, no one waiting for you. And strangely, for the first time in your life, you feel free. Not lonely, not abandoned, not broken. Free. Most people spend their entire lives running away from solitude. They jump from relationship to relationship, conversation to conversation, distraction to distraction because being alone terrifies them. But the Stoics taught something radically different. They believed that the person who cannot be happy alone will never be truly happy with anyone else. Because dependence is not love, neediness is not connection, attachment is not peace, and the greatest prison is needing another person to feel complete. Today, we live in a world obsessed with relationships. Every movie tells you that happiness comes from finding the one. Every social media platform convinces you that being single means you're missing something. Every family gathering asks the same question. When are you getting married? When will you find someone? When will you settle down? But very few people ask a much more important question. Have you settled with yourself? Have you become someone whose company you genuinely enjoy? Because according to Stoicism, if you cannot sit alone in a room and feel content, then no relationship will save you. No amount of attention will fill the emptiness inside. No partner will heal a soul that has abandoned itself. And this is why staying single, at least for a period of your life, may be one of the most powerful things you ever do. Not because relationships are bad, but because solitude reveals truths that relationships often hide. Today, we will explore why some of the greatest minds in Stoic philosophy believed that learning to stand alone is the foundation of true strength, true freedom, and true happiness. And by the end of this journey, you may never look at being single the same way again. The modern fear of being alone. Look around. People are terrified of silence. The moment they are alone, they grab their phones. The moment they feel lonely, they seek attention. The moment a relationship ends, they rush to replace it. Why? Because modern society has convinced people that being alone means something is wrong with them. Being single is treated like a problem that needs fixing, as if your value depends on whether someone chooses you, as if your worth is measured by the number of people who desire you. The Stoics would laugh at this idea. Marcus Aurelius spent countless hours in solitude. Epictetus taught self-sufficiency. Seneca praised the ability to enjoy one's own company. They understood something that modern culture has forgotten. The strongest person in the room is often the one who needs the least from others. This does not mean becoming cold. It does not mean rejecting love. It means becoming whole before seeking companionship. Because if you need someone else to complete you, you are not entering a relationship from strength. You are entering from lack. And lack creates fear. Fear creates attachment. Attachment creates suffering. This is why many relationships become emotional prisons. People stay not because they love. They stay because they are afraid. Afraid of loneliness, afraid of rejection, afraid of facing themselves. But Stoicism teaches us that everything we fear must eventually be confronted, especially ourselves. The hidden power of solitude. There is a reason why philosophers, monks, warriors, and great leaders throughout history spent time alone. Solitude is where transformation happens. Think about it. When everyone leaves, when the noise disappears, when there is nobody left to impress, you finally meet yourself. And that meeting can be uncomfortable because most people spend years avoiding who they really are. Relationships often become distractions from self-examination. You focus on their problems, their emotions, their needs, their expectations. And while doing so, you never confront your own. But when you are single, excuses disappear. The mirror becomes unavoidable. You begin noticing your fears, your insecurities, your weaknesses, your habits, your emotional wounds. This is why solitude feels painful at first, not because being alone hurts, but because truth hurts. And yet truth is also where healing begins. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Look within. Within is the fountain of good." Think about that. Not outside, not in another person, not in approval, not in attention. Within. Everything you seek externally already exists internally. Peace, strength, confidence, purpose, wisdom. The problem is that most people never stay alone long enough to discover them. Why most relationships fail? Let's discuss a truth that few people are willing to admit. Most relationships do not fail because people stop loving each other. They fail because people never learn to love themselves. A person who is empty will seek another person to fill the emptiness. A person who feels incomplete will search for completion, but this creates impossible expectations. Now another human being becomes responsible for your happiness, responsible for your confidence, responsible for your emotional stability, responsible for your self-worth. And no human being can carry that burden forever. Eventually, cracks appear, disappointment follows, resentment grows, and the relationship collapses under the weight of unrealistic expectations. Stoicism offers another path. Become complete first. Build your identity first. Develop inner peace first. Then enter relationships as a whole person, not a half looking for another half. Two complete individuals can create something beautiful, but two incomplete individuals often create chaos. This is why staying single can become one of the greatest gifts of your life, because it gives you time to build the foundation before constructing the house, the relationship. You cannot escape. There is one relationship that will last your entire life. One, not your friends, not your family, not your partner, not your children. Only one relationship remains until your final breath. The relationship with yourself. You can divorce a spouse, lose a friend, move away from family, but you cannot escape yourself. You wake up with yourself. You think with yourself. You suffer with yourself. You grow with yourself. And eventually, you die with yourself. So why do people spend so much time trying to build relationships with others while neglecting the most important relationship of all? Stoicism teaches that self-mastery is life's greatest achievement. Not popularity, not romance, not status. Mastering yourself. And self-mastery requires solitude, because you cannot hear your own voice while constantly listening to everyone else's. You cannot understand yourself while constantly seeking validation. You cannot discover your purpose while chasing someone else's approval. Being single gives you something incredibly valuable. Space. Space to think. Space to grow. Space to heal. Space to become. And in a world addicted to distraction, space is a superpower. Freedom is more valuable than attention. Many people mistake attention for love. Someone texts them all day. Someone constantly compliments them. Someone becomes emotionally dependent on them, and they think, this must be love. But attention is not love. Sometimes attention is control. Sometimes attention is insecurity. Sometimes attention is fear. Stoicism teaches us to value freedom above temporary pleasures. The question is not, who wants me? The question is, who am I becoming? Because attention fades. Beauty fades. Popularity fades. But character remains. Virtue remains. Wisdom remains. Inner strength remains. And staying single gives you the freedom to focus entirely on becoming the strongest version of yourself. No emotional drama. No constant validation seeking. No losing yourself in someone else's expectations. Just growth. Just discipline. Just purpose. Just becoming. And that is a rare gift. Most people never experience it. They spend their entire lives attached to someone, and because of that, they never truly discover who they are alone. The Stoics would argue that this is one of life's greatest tragedies, because the person you are meant to become can only emerge when you stop depending on others to define you. The courage to stand alone. There is a quote often attributed to great thinkers throughout history. The man who stands alone is strongest. Why? Because standing alone requires courage. Following the crowd is easy. Seeking approval is easy. Doing what everyone else expects is easy. Standing alone is difficult. Being single while everyone pressures you into relationships is difficult. Choosing growth over comfort is difficult. Choosing self-respect over temporary companionship is difficult. But Stoicism has never been about choosing the easy path. It has always been about choosing the right path. And sometimes the right path is lonely. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire, yet he constantly reminded himself that external approval meant nothing compared to internal virtue. He understood that greatness is often built in solitude. The strongest trees grow through storms. The strongest minds grow through silence. And the strongest souls grow through periods of aloneness, not loneliness. Aloneness, there is a difference. Loneliness is the pain of wanting company. Aloneness is the peace of enjoying your own presence. One is suffering, the other is freedom, and learning that difference may change your life forever. Why staying single is the best thing you can do. Stoicism Part 2. 7 Stoic reasons why staying single makes you stronger. In a world that constantly tells you to find someone, settle down, and avoid being alone, choosing solitude can feel like swimming against a powerful current. People may question you, friends may pity you, family members may worry about you, social media may convince you that everyone else is happier than you. But the Stoics would ask a simple question: why are you allowing society to decide what happiness looks like? One of the greatest lessons of Stoicism is this: the crowd is often wrong. Most people spend their lives chasing what everyone else is chasing: money, status, attention, validation, relationships. And yet, despite achieving these things, many remain anxious, dissatisfied, and emotionally dependent. Stoicism teaches that true happiness comes from within. And sometimes staying single becomes one of the most powerful opportunities to cultivate that inner strength. Let's explore 7 Stoic reasons why being single can transform your life. Reason 1. Being single teaches self-sufficiency. Epictetus once taught that freedom begins the moment you stop depending on things outside yourself. Think carefully about this. Most suffering comes from dependence. You depend on someone to text you back. You depend on someone to validate your worth. You depend on someone to make you feel loved. You depend on someone to make you feel secure, and whenever your happiness depends on another person, your peace becomes fragile. The Stoics understood that dependence creates vulnerability, not because other people are bad, but because other people are beyond your control. And according to Stoicism, anything beyond your control should never determine your happiness. When you stay single, something remarkable happens. You begin solving your own emotional problems. You learn to comfort yourself. You learn to motivate yourself. You learn to encourage yourself. You learn to stand on your own feet. At first, this feels uncomfortable. Then it feels empowering. Eventually, it becomes freedom. Because when you know how to survive emotionally on your own, nobody can manipulate you through affection, attention, or approval. You become emotionally sovereign. You stop begging, you stop chasing, you stop needing. And that changes everything. Reason 2. Solitude reveals your true identity. Most people don't know who they are. They know who their parents want them to be. They know who society expects them to be. They know who their partners need them to be. But they don't know who they truly are. Because identity is difficult to discover in constant noise. Imagine standing in a crowded room. Hundreds of voices surround you. How can you hear your own voice? You can't. The same thing happens psychologically when you're constantly surrounded by opinions, expectations, and emotional demands. Your authentic self becomes buried beneath layers of external influence. This is why solitude is powerful. It removes distractions, and when distractions disappear, truth emerges. You begin asking important questions. What do I truly value? What kind of life do I want? What principles guide me? What purpose drives me? What fears control me? What habits are destroying me? These questions are uncomfortable, but they are necessary. Marcus Aurelius spent years examining his own thoughts, not because he was weak, Because he understood that self-knowledge is power. The person who understands themselves cannot easily be manipulated, and the person who knows who they are no longer needs others to define them. Reason 3. Being single protects your focus. Look honestly at human history. Every great achievement required focus. Every masterpiece, every invention, every empire, every transformation. Focus. Yet focus has become increasingly rare. People are constantly distracted. Notifications, messages, drama, arguments, emotional ups and downs. Many relationships consume enormous amounts of mental energy. Not because relationships are bad, but because emotional attachment demands attention. When you're single, you gain something priceless. Mental space. Imagine redirecting all the energy you spend worrying about relationships into your goals, your business, your health, your discipline, your education, your dreams. Suddenly progress accelerates. This is one reason many philosophers, warriors, and leaders valued periods of solitude. They understood that greatness requires concentration. The Stoics viewed life as a limited resource. Time is finite, energy is finite, attention is finite. Every moment spent chasing validation is a moment not spent building your future. And once you understand this, your priorities begin to change. You stop asking, "Who wants me?" and start asking, "What am I building?" That question changes lives. Reason 4. Solitude builds emotional strength. Imagine lifting weights. The muscle grows because it faces resistance. Without resistance, there is no growth. The same principle applies emotionally. Many people use relationships to avoid discomfort. The moment they feel lonely, they seek company. The moment they feel insecure, they seek reassurance. The moment they feel empty, they seek distraction. But avoiding discomfort does not eliminate weakness. Preserves it. The Stoics believe that adversity develops character, and solitude is a form of adversity. When you're alone, you must face your emotions directly. You cannot hide behind constant conversations. You cannot escape into endless attention. You confront your fears, your doubts, your insecurities, your wounds, and every time you face them without running away, you become stronger. This is emotional training. This is mental resilience. This is Stoic practice. Over time, you develop a calm, confidence that cannot be shaken by rejection, criticism, or abandonment, because you already learned how to survive alone, and once you know that, fear loses its power. Reason 5. Staying single helps you. Heal. Many people enter new relationships carrying old wounds, pain from childhood, pain from betrayal, pain from rejection, pain from previous relationships. Instead of healing, they seek distraction. Instead of recovery, they seek replacement. But unhealed wounds don't disappear, they simply follow you. The Stoics emphasized self-examination because they understood a profound truth. You cannot escape yourself. Every unresolved pain eventually returns. Every hidden insecurity eventually surfaces. Every emotional wound eventually demands attention. Being single gives you time to heal properly, time to understand your patterns, time to recognize your triggers, time to process your pain, time to forgive, time to grow. Healing requires stillness. Healing requires reflection. Healing requires honesty, and honesty becomes much easier when you're not constantly distracted by another person's presence. Seneca once wrote that we suffer more in imagination than in reality. Many emotional wounds persist because we never fully examine them. Solitude gives us the opportunity to do exactly that, and healing creates something beautiful. Wisdom. Reason 6. You stop settling for less. One of the greatest dangers of fearing loneliness is that it causes people to accept things they should never tolerate. Disrespect, manipulation, dishonesty, emotional neglect, toxic behavior. Why? Because they fear being alone more than they fear being unhappy. Think about how tragic that is. Some people remain in miserable situations simply because solitude frightens them. The Stoics would see this as a form of slavery, because whenever fear controls your choices, you are not free. Staying single teaches you that being alone is not a punishment. It is a valid and often beautiful way to live. And once you truly understand that, something changes. You stop settling. You stop begging for affection. You stop tolerating disrespect. You stop chasing people who don't value you, because you realize a powerful truth. Peace is better than unhealthy attachment. Freedom is better than emotional dependence. Self-respect is better than temporary companionship. The person who is comfortable alone becomes incredibly difficult to manipulate, and that is a form of strength few people ever develop. Reason 7. Staying single helps you build a life worth sharing. This may sound surprising, but one of the best reasons to stay single for a period of time is that it ultimately prepares you for healthier relationships. Many people search endlessly for the perfect partner, but they rarely ask, am I becoming the kind of person the right partner would want? This is where Stoicism offers profound wisdom. Focus on becoming excellent. Focus on character. Focus on virtue. Focus on growth. Focus on purpose. Focus on self-mastery. Become someone worthy of admiration. Become someone capable of love without dependence. Become someone capable of commitment without losing themselves. Become someone who contributes rather than consumes. Then, if a relationship enters your life, it becomes a bonus rather than a necessity. This changes everything, because now you are choosing from abundance rather than desperation. You are loving from strength rather than fear. You are sharing your life rather than seeking rescue, and that is the foundation of every healthy relationship. The Stoics never argued against love. They argued against attachment. They argued against dependency. They argued against surrendering your peace to things beyond your control. Love deeply, but remain grounded. Care deeply, but remain free. Connect deeply, but never abandon yourself. The greatest discovery. Solitude offers, at some point during your journey alone, something extraordinary happens. You stop counting the days. You stop feeling incomplete. You stop waiting for someone to arrive and save you, and you realize something. You were never missing anything. The strength you sought was already inside you. The confidence you sought was already inside you. The peace you sought was already inside you. The love you sought was already inside you. You simply couldn't hear it beneath the noise, eh? Why staying single is the best thing you can do. Stoicism Part 3. How solitude creates discipline, purpose, and unshakable Stoic confidence. There comes a moment in every person's life when they must choose between comfort and growth. Most people choose comfort. They choose what feels familiar. They choose what feels safe. They choose what helps them avoid difficult emotions, and often that means surrounding themselves with constant distractions. But the Stoics understood a truth that most people spend their entire lives avoiding. Growth happens in solitude, not because being alone is magical, but because solitude removes the excuses that prevent transformation. When nobody is watching, when nobody is validating you, when nobody is motivating you, you discover who you truly are, not the version of yourself you show to others, not the version shaped by social expectations, not the version designed to impress people, the real you, and that discovery can either become your greatest fear or your greatest source of power. The difference depends on whether you are willing to face yourself honestly. Solitude exposes your weaknesses. Imagine a warrior preparing for battle. Before he faces an enemy, he must first identify his own weaknesses. A weak defense, poor discipline, fear, lack of focus. Because what remains hidden becomes dangerous. The same principle applies to life. Many people appear confident around others. They seem strong. They seem successful. They seem emotionally stable. But the moment they are alone, everything changes. Anxiety appears. Doubt appears. Fear appears. Restlessness appears. Why? Because solitude removes distractions. And distractions often hide weaknesses. This is why many people cannot sit quietly for 10 minutes without reaching for their phones. Silence forces them to confront thoughts they have spent years avoiding. Marcus Aurelius deliberately spent time examining his mind. He understood that self-awareness is the beginning of wisdom, because you cannot improve what you refuse to acknowledge. When you stay single and spend meaningful time alone, your weaknesses become visible. At first, this feels uncomfortable, but eventually, it becomes empowering. Because once you can see your weaknesses, you can strengthen them, and that is how transformation begins. Discipline is born. When nobody is watching, anyone can appear disciplined when people are observing them. Anyone can act motivated when they receive praise. Anyone can work hard when rewards are immediate. But true discipline is revealed in private. The Stoics admired individuals who did the right thing even when nobody was there to applaud them, because character is what you do when nobody is watching. Think about your life. When you are alone, what choices do you make? Do you improve yourself, or do you waste hours escaping reality? Do you build your future, or do you postpone your potential? Do you strengthen your mind, or do you feed your distractions? Being. Single places you face to face with these questions. There is no partner to entertain you, no relationship drama to distract you, no external source of motivation, only you. And this is where discipline is forged. Every morning you choose to wake up early. Every workout you complete. Every book you finish. Every skill you learn. Every temptation you resist. You are building a stronger version of yourself, not because someone told you to, but because you decided to. That decision is power. And the Stoics believe that self-discipline is one of the highest forms of freedom, because the person who cannot control themselves will always be controlled by something else. The power of becoming your own source of motivation. Most people rely on external motivation. They work harder when someone believes in them. They feel confident when someone praises them. They feel valuable when someone chooses them. But what happens when those things disappear? What happens when nobody encourages you? What happens when nobody notices your effort? What happens when nobody believes in your vision? This is where most people quit. But this is also where Stoic strength begins. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself that he should not depend on applause, because applause is temporary. Public opinion changes. People come and go. Approval fades. But your purpose remains. When you stay single, you learn an important lesson. You learn how to move forward without constant encouragement. You learn how to believe in yourself. You learn how to continue working when nobody is watching. You become your own source of motivation, and that changes everything, because now your progress no longer depends on external circumstances. Now your determination comes from within, and what comes from within cannot easily be taken away. Solitude helps you discover purpose. One of the greatest tragedies of modern life is that many people reach old age without ever discovering their purpose. They spend decades chasing expectations, decades chasing approval, decades chasing things they never truly wanted. Why? Because they never spent enough time alone to ask themselves the important questions. What kind of life do I want? What matters? Most to me, what am I willing to sacrifice for? What legacy do I want to leave behind? These questions require silence. These questions require reflection. These questions require solitude. Seneca believed that people often waste their lives because they are too busy living according to other people's expectations. And he was right. Many people are living someone else's dream, someone else's definition of success, someone else's version of happiness. But when you spend time alone, something remarkable happens. The voices of society begin to fade. The pressure begins to fade, the expectations begin to fade, and your authentic desires become clearer. You begin understanding what truly matters. You stop chasing things that don't align with your values. You stop living on autopilot. You start living intentionally. That is purpose. And purpose creates a kind of confidence that no relationship can provide. Why most people fear solitude? There is a reason solitude scares people. It reveals truths, and truth is often uncomfortable. When people are constantly busy, They can avoid difficult questions, but solitude removes those hiding places. Suddenly, you notice your habits, your fears, your insecurities, your regrets, your wasted potential, and many people would rather remain distracted than confront these realities. This is why they fill every moment with noise. Music, television, social media, conversations, entertainment, anything to avoid being alone with their thoughts. But the Stoics saw solitude differently. They viewed it as a training ground, a place where the mind becomes stronger, a place where wisdom develops, a place where self-mastery begins. The things you discover about yourself in solitude may initially hurt, but they also have the power to heal you, because awareness precedes change. You cannot overcome a weakness you refuse to acknowledge. You cannot solve a problem you refuse to face, and you cannot become your best self while avoiding yourself. Building. Confidence without validation. One of the most valuable gifts of staying single is learning how to build confidence internally. Most confidence today is borrowed confidence. Someone receives compliments. Their confidence rises. Someone receives attention. Their confidence rises. Someone receives validation. Their confidence rises. But what happens when the compliments stop? What happens when attention disappears? What happens when validation is withdrawn? The confidence collapses. Because it was never real confidence. It was dependency disguised as confidence. The Stoics sought a different kind of confidence, a confidence rooted in character, a confidence rooted in virtue, a confidence rooted in self-respect. This confidence cannot be given by others, and it cannot be taken away by others. It is earned through action. Every promise you keep to yourself strengthens confidence. Every challenge you overcome strengthens confidence. Every fear you confront strengthens confidence. Every disciplined decision strengthens confidence. And solitude provides countless opportunities to practice these things. Eventually, you stop needing external approval. You stop measuring your worth through other people's opinions. You stop chasing validation because you have developed something much stronger. Self-respect. And self-respect is the foundation of true confidence. The Stoic warrior. Mindset. The Stoics often compared life to a battlefield. Not because life is about violence, but because life constantly tests us. Temptation tests us. Fear tests us. Failure tests us. Loss tests us. Pain tests us. And one of the greatest tests is learning how to stand alone. Many people derive their strength from their circumstances. When life is good, they feel strong. When life becomes difficult, they collapse. The Stoics developed strength differently. They built strength internally. Like warriors preparing for battle before the battle arrived. Every moment of solitude became training. Every challenge became practice. Every hardship became an opportunity for growth. When you stay single and dedicate yourself to self-improvement, you are doing exactly the same thing. You are training your mind. You are strengthening your character. You are preparing yourself for future challenges. And because of that preparation, life becomes less frightening. Because confidence grows whenever competence grows, and competence grows through practice, the freedom of not needing anyone. This does not mean rejecting people. This does not mean avoiding love. This does not mean becoming emotionally cold. The Stoics never advocated isolation. They advocated freedom. There is a profound difference. Freedom means enjoying relationships without depending on them. Freedom means loving people without losing yourself. Freedom means appreciating companionship without requiring it for happiness. When you reach this state, your entire perspective changes. You no longer fear abandonment. You no longer fear loneliness. Why staying single is the best thing you can do. Stoicism Part 4. The right relationship comes after self-mastery. Powerful Stoic conclusion. There is an irony that most people never notice. The harder people chase love, the further it seems to run. The more desperately they seek validation, the emptier they feel. The more they depend on relationships for happiness, the more fragile their happiness becomes. Yet the people who seem most at peace, the people who naturally attract respect, admiration, and meaningful relationships are often those who have learned how to be happy alone. Why? Because they are no longer searching for someone to save them. They have already saved themselves. And this is where the Stoic journey of solitude reaches its highest lesson. The goal was never to stay single forever. The goal was never to reject relationships. The goal was never to isolate yourself from humanity. The goal was self-mastery. Because once you master yourself, every relationship becomes healthier, deeper, and more meaningful. The problem with searching for someone to complete. Modern culture sells a dangerous idea. It tells people they are incomplete. It tells them that somewhere in the world exists another person who will finally make them whole. A soulmate, a missing piece, a perfect match. And because of this belief, millions spend their lives searching. Searching for someone who will remove their loneliness, someone who will heal their insecurities, someone who will erase their fears, someone who will give their life meaning. But the Stoics would challenge this idea immediately. How can another person complete you if you have never completed yourself? How can another person give you purpose if you have never discovered your own? How can another person create inner peace if your mind is already at war with itself? The truth is simple. No relationship can fix a person who refuses to fix themselves. No amount of love can permanently heal someone who has abandoned self-respect, and no partner can carry the responsibility of making you happy every day. That burden is too heavy for any human being. This is why Stoicism begins with the self. Before you seek love from another person, learn to become someone worthy of your own respect, because self-respect is the foundation upon which all healthy relationships are built. Marcus Aurelius and the power of inner stability. Consider the life of the great Stoic emperor Marcus Aurelius. He ruled an empire. He faced war, disease, betrayal, political conflict, lost, death. Yet throughout his writings, one message appears repeatedly. Your peace must come from within, not from circumstances, not from possessions, not from the opinions of others, and certainly not from another person's approval. Marcus understood something profound. Anything external can be taken away. Money can disappear. Fame can disappear. Relationships can end. People can leave. Life can change overnight. If your happiness depends entirely upon these things, your happiness remains fragile. But when your peace comes from character, wisdom, and self-mastery, it becomes far more stable. This is why staying single can become such a powerful chapter of life, because it teaches you to build your foundation internally. And once that foundation becomes strong, nothing external has the power to completely destroy you. Love is strongest when it is not needed. This idea may sound strange at first, but think carefully. What is stronger? A person who loves because they are afraid of being alone, or a person who loves despite being perfectly capable of standing alone? The first person loves from fear. The second person loves from freedom. And there is a huge difference. Fear creates attachment. Fear creates jealousy. Fear creates control. Fear creates insecurity. Freedom creates trust. Freedom creates respect. Freedom creates patience. Freedom creates genuine connection. The Stoics believe that virtue should guide relationships, not desperation, not dependency, not emotional neediness. When you have learned to enjoy your own company, relationships become choices rather than necessities, and choices are always healthier than dependencies. Because now you are with someone because you genuinely value them, not because you cannot survive without them. That distinction changes everything. The danger of emotional dependency. One of the greatest forms of suffering is emotional dependency. This occurs when your emotional state becomes controlled by another person's behavior. If they text you, you're happy. If they ignore you, you're miserable. If they praise you, you're confident. If they criticize you, you're devastated. Notice what has happened. You have surrendered control of your emotions. Your happiness now belongs to someone else. The Stoics would consider this a dangerous position, not because people are evil, but because human beings are imperfect, People make mistakes. People change. People leave. People disappoint us. And if your entire emotional world depends upon them, suffering becomes inevitable. Staying single provides an opportunity to break this pattern. You learn to regulate your own emotions. You learn to create your own happiness. You learn to maintain your peace regardless of external circumstances. And this skill becomes incredibly valuable later in life. Because even within healthy relationships, emotional independence remains essential. Becoming the prize many people spend years asking, how do I find the right person? But perhaps a better question is, how do I become the right person? Think about it. The qualities people admire most are usually developed during periods of growth: discipline, wisdom, confidence, patience, purpose, integrity, resilience. These qualities rarely emerge from comfort. They emerge from challenge, from struggle, from reflection, from solitude. The period of being single is not merely a waiting room before life begins. It is life. It is an opportunity to become stronger, wiser, more disciplined, more emotionally mature, more self-aware. Instead of obsessing over finding the perfect partner, focus on becoming the best version of yourself, because the better you become, the healthier your future relationships will be. And even if the perfect relationship never arrives, you will still possess something incredibly valuable: yourself. Why? Some people fear your independence. Something interesting happens when you become comfortable alone. People notice. Your energy changes, your decisions change, your standards change. You stop chasing, you stop begging, you stop seeking constant approval. And this often makes others uncomfortable. Why? Because true independence is rare. Most people have been conditioned to seek validation everywhere. When they encounter someone who no longer needs external approval, it challenges their assumptions. Your confidence may be mistaken for arrogance. Your self-respect may be mistaken for distance. Your independence may be mistaken for indifference. But the Stoics remind us that other people's opinions are beyond our control. Your responsibility is not to be understood by everyone. Your responsibility is to live according to your values. And if becoming emotionally independent causes some people to misunderstand you, so be it. Freedom is worth that price. The relationship that changes everything. There is one relationship that influences every other relationship in your life: the relationship you have with yourself. If you constantly criticize yourself, you will struggle to accept love from others. If you constantly betray your own values, you will struggle to trust others. If you lack self-respect, you will often tolerate disrespect from others. Everything begins internally. This is why Stoicism places such emphasis on self-examination. The person who understands themselves gains tremendous power, because self-awareness creates choice, and choice creates freedom. When you know your strengths, you can use them wisely. When you know your weaknesses, you can improve them. When you know your values, you can live by them. And when you know your worth, you stop accepting less than you deserve. The strongest relationships are built between two people who already possess a healthy relationship with themselves. Anything less often becomes a struggle for validation. One day you will understand. Perhaps right now you feel lonely. Perhaps you feel behind. Perhaps you see others in relationships and wonder if something is wrong with you. Perhaps you question whether staying single is a blessing or a curse. If so, remember this: not every season of life is meant for companionship. Some seasons are meant for growth. Some seasons are meant for healing. Some seasons are meant for self-discovery. Some seasons are meant for preparation. The seed spends a long time underground before anyone sees the tree. The transformation happens in silence, and so does yours. Do not rush your journey simply because society tells you to. Do not measure your worth by relationship status. Do not mistake solitude for failure. Some of the most important chapters of your life may be the ones you spend alone, because those chapters shape the person you eventually become. The ultimate Stoic lesson: as we reach the end of this journey, There is one final Stoic lesson worth remembering. Everything external is temporary. Relationships, money, beauty, status, fame, possessions, even life itself. The Stoics never denied this reality. They embraced it. Because once you accept impermanence, you stop clinging so desperately. You stop trying to control what cannot be controlled. You stop basing your happiness on things destined to change. Instead, you focus on what remains within your control. Your thoughts, your actions, your character, your values, your choices. These things belong to you, and no one can take them away. Not rejection, not loneliness, not heartbreak, not loss. This realization creates tremendous peace. Because you finally understand where true security comes from, not from another person, not from circumstances, but from within. Powerful final conclusion. So if you are single right now,